Alright, so I just wanted to make a quick video on gluing my scales to my liner material. This is going to be a knife handle that I'm going to be making pretty soon. The video isn't out yet, but it's going to be probably right after this video. A couple of things. First of all, don't worry about the table. I'm in the middle of like 10 projects right now, so it's being used. Trust me, I'm not just a hoarder. Or maybe I am, I don't know. Alright, so preparation. I've already taken these scales. I've heated them in the oven for a very long period of time at 250 degrees. So that all that does is really just dry it out. Make sure it doesn't shrink anymore after I glue. And so I've done that. I've dried those out. I've also lapped them on a piece of sandpaper in my flat block, making them perfectly flat. I could actually feel the suction between these. That's how flat they are. And what that does is that makes it so that they line up flat to the knife, and there's no epoxy gap. And then I've taken my liner material, I've cut it out, and I've also keyed these up as well as this. I've keyed it up with 60 grit sandpaper, and that just means that I've scored a bunch of little tiny lines. And let me see if the camera will pick it up. You kind of see the texture. It's very scratched up, meaning I just made a lot of surface area for the epoxy to grab onto. That brings me to this. This is the epoxy that I'm using right now. You'll see it's in a little Tupperware of very hot water. The reason being is it's 31 degrees outside right now, and so I just warmed this up to make sure that it just kind of thins out a little bit. It's not as solid as it would be in this temperature. I'm using G-Flex epoxy. This is the first time I've used G-Flex. Every time before I've used JB Weld, which is that's rated up to 4,400 pounds of pressure, or pulling pressure, I guess. And that's perfectly good enough to make a knife handle, because you're not pulling that. But this is rated up to, I believe, 150,000 pounds. So this is a lot stronger, and been wanting to get it for a while. I figured I'd just pull the trigger. It's not that expensive. It's only 20 bucks, but it'll take me a lot farther than JB Weld would or will. So I've got that. That's all prepared. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my area with some wax paper on this block, because I'm going to be actually attaching my scales like this and then clamping them to this block, because I know this block is almost perfectly flat. I said almost very loosely, because I mean obviously there's very slight changes, but it's pretty much zeroed out. It's flat, and so I'm going to be clamping it to this, and that'll assure me that it's clamped perfectly flat on there. And so I'm going to get that prepared. Then I'm also going to spray these off with acetone. I have a bottle of acetone, a spray bottle. I keep very little in there just in case it fails. I don't want to lose a ton of acetone or it spilling in large quantities. So I've got that. I'm going to spray these off, all surfaces that I'm going to glue, and then I'm going to use an air compressor to blow it off, and that just dries the acetone very quickly. That's a tip that I learned from Sandy Jack from Jack Lure Knives. If you don't follow him already, please do. This guy, I mean, I consider him my mentor. I could credit probably 90% of the knowledge I have of knife making to him. He's an absolute genius, and I look up to him very much. But yeah, I mean, I give you permission to leave this video and follow him if you're not already. But yeah, so I think that's pretty much all I have to talk about. I'm going to do that. One thing you have to notice, when you're doing this, never touch these blocks after you've degreased them, because epoxy hates grease and it hates dust. So I'm spraying it off, and then I'm blowing it off at the same time, making it dust-free and grease-free after that, and then it's perfectly ready to glue up. And then after I'm done, I'm going to take this whole package and bring it inside, because G-Flex, although it's very strong, it doesn't set right underneath 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Like I said, it's 31 degrees, so that's definitely not ideal. It'll just stay sludgy or stay like thick, and it won't dry properly. So to make sure I get a perfect I don't know what the word is, to get a perfect stick, I'll I'll bring it inside. That's enough talking. Let's get into it. Okay, just a couple of things on the JB Weld versus G Flex front. This is it's a 24-hour epoxy, so it takes 24 hours for this to fully cure, and it has a pot life of about 45 minutes. I think it said like 43 or 48 maybe. I don't remember, but it's just a little less than an hour, so you have a very long time working with it before it sets. However, JB Weld has a pot life of 5 minutes, and it sets in I think 2 hours. So that's just some advantages and disadvantages of the two. Personally, I got really fast with glue ups with JB Weld, so I'm not really worried about the pot life. However, I think the duration that it takes to set has some factor in why this is so much stronger than that. I mean, if this takes 24 hours to cure and that takes 2 hours to cure, I mean, you have a whole 22 hours difference. It's a very big difference. I think that's all I was going to say about that. One thing to note is I did cut the liners quite a bit, not extremely bigger, but quite a bit bigger. I think within like 2 millimeters bigger all around, because what happens is when you clamp, it slides around. And I'm sure you saw me. Before I clamped, I had it on there and I kind of twisted it and turned it and rubbed it against each other. The reason being is because there's very minuscule like nooks and crannies in both sections, and I wanted to make sure that the epoxy filled all those holes. And then, like I said, I cut them bigger because when you clamp it, it has a tendency to shift around, and that just gives me a little bit of play on making sure that I could have the liners connected to all parts of the scales. I do think that this curly black walnut is going to turn out amazing. I love black walnut. It's probably my favorite wood. It's very simple, very accessible, but it's just absolutely gorgeous, and it smells amazing. But anyways, I'm going to take this inside, as well as the G-Flex. You never want to leave your glue or epoxy outside. I have all my liquids except for like alcohol and acetone and boiled linseed oil inside. But yeah, I'm going to take all this inside and let it set. It should be done tomorrow, same time. And yeah, then I'll start working on the knife. So I'm really excited about that. New video coming soon.